talk about.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try this again. I want to see. I changed the speaker settings. All right, it's recording the sound.
Okay.
I'm going to start your intro again.
All right.
And if it's not recording us, we'll try something else.
Okay. Hello, everybody. If you are humans, aliens, spiritual beings, cats, or parakeets, as long as you are listening to the Universal Consciousness Show with Diana and Aage, we welcome you to join our mastermind group as we explore the higher realms and the unknown. Today we present to you the Seekers of the World, the new and global forum for knowledge and wisdom. We and our guests will try to unveil the secrets of the universe, as well as the small day-to-day We
things
cannot
that
hear.
make our life
I know.
better.
This is the
We
problem.
will
But I'm
delve
thinking
into the
that the
hidden
station can
family
still hear you.
mysteries,
I'm
future
hoping that this
science,
speaker
Okay.
settings will
universal
work.
success
So I
principles,
will tell you when to
self-aware
speak.
universal
Okay.
consciousness, the real power of the mind, spiritual concepts, and the nuts and bolts of higher conscious thinking, and whatever you like to talk about. Because of the vibration of the show, just by listening, you will
Okay,
be
your
raised to
intro
a
is just
higher
about to
level of
finish.
consciousness. And we, as the
Okay.
host, promise you a journey like none you've ever been on. Sit back, put your feet up, and allow for the hidden,
And you
the
are live
strange,
in
and the
3,
unusual to come to you.
2, 1.
Hello. My name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts here. I'm sitting in the southwest of the United States, and my co-host Diana is over in Germany, some 7,000 miles away, and I hope I'm talking loud enough so you can hear me 7,000 miles away. Are you there, Diana?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Oi. Yeah, it's amazing what modern technology can do, isn't it? Here we sit talking 7,000 miles away, and I know we have listeners in Hong Kong. That's about 10,000 miles away. So yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, we are living in strange times, uncertain times. And we're going to talk a little bit about that this time because there are things going on out there. We see stuff happening in the world, and not all of it is all that good. Most sane people, they would look at this and say, "Wow, what? Are the psychopaths running the world?" Well, it really looks like it sometimes. You know, you got to remember an old saying that says, "People do not go to war. Governments do." People get along. They're just like us. I have seen a few places around the world, and I don't remember 10, 15 years ago I counted, and I got to 19 countries that I've been to, and I see people in all those countries, they have the same dreams, the same desires, the same loves, and they have problems just like we do. They have family issues, but they love their grandma and their family. And just because they don't get along with a neighbor don't mean that they got to go over there and kill him. Unless, of course, you're a religious fanatic that believe what it says in the so-called good book, that if you kill one that don't believe like you do, then you go to heaven. And that is one of the problems we have, religion. No, sane people, good people, they work things out. And there are many different ways to do that. It seems as spiritual people, they are better at working things out than people that are not. It also seems that as soon as someone starts working for a government or an authority, so-called, or structure within religion, then common sense goes out the window. So it is up to us to bring back common sense and be able to maintain our sanity in ourselves and our situation and our family and our communities. It is up to the people, and we see that around the world right now. We see the elections in the United States that prove that corruption, it just don't work as well as it anymore. And we're starting to see that in other countries. We see it in France. We see it in Germany. Governments, they're losing their credibility with the people. So it all goes back to us. How do we maintain our sanity, and how do we deal with the new things that is happening in this world? Now we got to think ahead a little bit. And in order to do that the best, we have to look back a little bit. Look into distant history, and you see what happened within empires. Every empire fall eventually. And there are empires around the world right now that is in the process of falling. And then again, it brings it back to the people. We have to stand up and take charge. And the charge that we take starts with us. So when the people that don't really understand what's going on and know what is going on, they're going to come to us and say, what is going on? And then it's up to us to help educate them. I've learned over the years that educating people that do not want to be educated is like teaching a cat how to bark. It works just as well. Now the thing is that when people come to us, then we can talk to them and teach them things. Otherwise, it just doesn't work very well. And there are people that is coming to us. They look at what we have done, and they look at some of the things we have written and some of the things we have done, and it may make sense to them, so they come and ask. And when they do, always give them the time. And we're going to talk about that. Diana, in fact, has a lot on her mind that she wants to bring to you, because these are things that is going to happen more and more and more as we go into the next few months. It's not even few years anymore. It is few months now when the big changes are going to happen. You're going to find 2017 is going to be the one year where most or a lot of the hidden stuff is going to be brought to the surface. More secrets are going to be revealed, and more corruption are going to be revealed this year than for the last 100 years. Watch for it. It's going to happen. Even the latter part of the year, watch for disclosure. I know some of you knows what that term means, and look for it. It's going to come out of out of Antarctica. Look for that one. And when it happens, you may have to step out and talk to your neighbor and try to explain some of these things. What is it? Why did it happen? And what will this do for us? I prefer to use the for us instead of to us, because we are creating our own reality. And we are doing it so well that we don't even understand what we're doing, because it is hidden. Our mind creates it all. There is a saying that I have been using on different forums that I have spoken, and that is that let me back up just a little bit. Science has found that we live in a mind-created universe. So what does that mean? It's back to the same thing. Our mind creates everything. So if our mind creates everything, then what are we? Because we are in this world that is being created by the mind. So what are we? We are mind created too. So if we learn and practice and learn how to control our mind, direct our mind in a positive direction, we're going to be better off. And if we think of it this way, if you think like the masses do, you are going to be like the masses are. If you do like the masses do, you are going to have what the masses have. So ask yourself, do you really want that? See, everything starts in the mind. So we should start conditioning our mind for success in all aspects of our life. All spokes in the wheel of life should be equally long. All spokes in that wheel of life represent an aspect of our life. And if there is an aspect of our life that is non-existent, then that spoke is not there. So when the wheel rolls, it gets that spot, it's got a flat spot right there, so it stops. And I know some of us has had that experience, including me. So what I'm thinking is that Diana has some really good things to run by us here. So listen really close, because what she's saying is said on several levels of consciousness. The first time you hear it, it's going to mean something to you. If you go back and listen to it again, it will mean what you thought the first time, but it will mean more. There is more depth to it. And she is more esoteric in some ways than I am. I am more nuts and bolts. And a lot of times I try to back up what I say with science and experiences and things. And she has a deeper understanding into the esoteric in many areas than I do. So I don't know, Diana, do you want to try to enlighten us a little bit?
Well, I will try.
I will be all ears, and hope all of us will.
Thank you. But before I start to talk what I prepared, I just want to relate a tiny bit about what you said about the situation in the world. So I think that the situation that you described is exactly like all the humans we are exactly like the cells in a bigger body, in a whole. And as long as we are not in harmony, and as long as we fight against each other, we create an autoimmune disease in the whole. Exactly like the cells are creating an autoimmune disease in our body when they are not in harmony and fighting against each other. It's exactly like that we are creating by fighting with each other. We are creating an autoimmune disease in the whole, in the humanity. And that is very important to understand, that by harming the other person, we harm the whole, and so we harm ourselves. So this is a very important thing to understand, related to what you said about the situation which the world is experiencing like right now. And about our topic on the show, as you already know, after we settled the topic for this show, you told me I should send a kind of request to the universal mind before I sleep, and let's see what kind of idea I will have when I wake up. So I did exactly like you tell me, and amazingly I had a very interesting dream about a therapist who wrote me a recommendation for my life. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I started to write down, according to the dream, the recommended ideas, some thoughts that I learned from the books that I read and from different documentation that I studied in the last years. First, I have to tell you that in my dream I heard a voice which told me that you have to accept that you can create your own reality and begin to reflect the Zen attitude towards life. According to the Zen, you have to accept that a Zen master never opposes things by resisting them. The principle of controlling things is by going along with them. You don't resist. You master external forces by adaptation. Well, the highest form of evolution is the adaptability to the change and not the resistance to it. And as we know, the only constant in the universe is the change. So by adaptation to the change, we put ourselves in a continuous metamorphosis, and this is called evolution. You are adaptable to what is. Actually, it is the resistance to what is that causes the suffering. The freedom lies in acceptance of what is. What is Zen? Zen is the way of liberation. Zen combines the original Buddha nature with the Tao. Alan Watts said, Zen is that something that makes the difference between an ordinary man and a Buddha. Carl Jung said, one who looks outside dreams, one who looks inside awakes. It is not wrong to look for the happiness, but it is wrong to look for it outside, because it is only inside where you can find it. Thinking, acting, and doing should be in balance with being. You know, all the thinking of our planet brought us in this situation where we find ourselves right now, where we have to find solution to all the problems created by thinking alone. And anytime when we find a solution to a problem, we create two more problems. Then we think again how to solve everything what our thinking mind created. This is a never-ending story, a process that actually separates us from the inner world, from the spiral of life inside our heart. Actually, we focus our energy in problems that surround us, trying to get rid of them. But the paradox is that the more you resist to something, the more it will grow. It's exactly like a muscle that you train again and again, and it becomes stronger and stronger. Where your attention goes is also your energy going. So the question would be, what is the alternative to this thinking? What do you think, Aage?
Well, yeah, what is the alternative to thinking? Is it not thinking? No, I'm not so sure that it is the alternative either, because even though you are not consciously thinking, you go within in meditation, your subconscious mind, your superconscious mind, and your universal mind is still thinking. But it is not necessarily thinking about the garbage that is going on in your life. Look in Japan right now. Many schools in Japan are starting to introduce meditation for the first 5 or 10 minutes of class in the morning. They start kids out on this. That is going to create a whole new generation of higher conscious thinking people, because they close down the mind and allow for that channel from the universal mind coming through all the way up into conscious thinking. And that's what the magic is. You see, most of us, we are running around every day thinking 90 miles an hour, and some of us have gusts to 400 miles an hour. So what do we really want? We got to think about that. But allow the non-thinking mind to bring it to you. We may formulate it in our mind. Let's say we have a couple of questions. What do we want? And what do we really want? These are two different questions.
Right.
And I know that there were things that I wanted in my past that I am so glad that I didn't get. I know one specific thing. If I had gotten what I wanted back then, I would not have been in the United States. I would not have been able to do everything that I have done. I may have done some of it in a different fashion, on a different continent, in a different country. But I'd rather like it this way. So we got to think about, what do we really want? We may want something right now. First of all, do we need it? Well, maybe not. And we got to watch our tongue when we think, because we have these private conversations going on in our head. And these conversations, they are not always necessarily positive. I catch myself at that a few times. And we start thinking about, we are responsible for our own life and what's happening in it. And we know that. And then we get out of here, get in our car, and we start discussing with somebody in the car with us, and, we feel like, then something happens and said, well, gee, why did he do that to me? We forgot what we just decided, that we were the master of our mind and our reality. So where does it fit in then? Why did he do that to me? We, somewhere in our mental fabric, we created the situation, and we drew it to us by the way we are thinking, mostly conscious thinking, and to a great extent the subconscious mind program that is running all the time. So we really got to watch ourselves. And that is one good way to do that. I have it right on my computer in front of me. I got a little sticker. It says, think. And that's a good reminder for me. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes. Yes.
I know you created a plaque with many different pictures and kind of like a dream wall, more or less.
An imagery, let's say imagery.
Yeah. And I'm sure you go look at that ever so often. You think on each picture and each phrase on there. Because that goes through your eyes, through your conscious mind, into the subconscious, and creates a new subconscious mind program that is positive.
Yes.
And every time you look at that sticker on the computer, then it says, think. Where does your thoughts go? Because that sticker represents something positive. The sticker in your mind does not necessarily mean, think about that lousy neighbor of mine. No, that's not it. You think about something positive whenever you see that. So anyway, I'm getting down from the soapbox here now. So it's all yours again, Diana.
Well, I think it's not about actually to think. It's about how we think.
Yeah.
Because while Western cultures developed techniques to explore the outer space, the outer world through thinking, on contrary, other ancient Eastern cultures developed techniques to explore the inner space, our inner worlds with meditation. Because it's the loss of the connection to our inner worlds that has created the whole imbalance on our planet. The egoic mind tried to answer the question, who am I? With a visit card, a name, a job, a position, a possession, and things like that. But actually the question, who am I, doesn't need an answer, because the questions are the result of the egoic mind. You are not your mind. Find out who you are by going inside, by being awake. When Buddha was asked what does it mean to be awake, he simply answered, it is the end of the suffering. Every major religion has a name for being awake state, like heaven, nirvana, moksha. Actually, a quiet mind is all that you need to wake up in stillness, in your inner essence, our divine essence, which is working only for us, effortless.
Yeah.
What do you think about?
Well, the quiet mind has magic in it. And the quiet mind will bring us what we really want, not just what we want.
Yeah.
It will bring you bliss.
Right.
Isn't it bliss, that happiness that we will really look for? I just happen to know a few millionaires or very wealthy people that are not very happy. And why is that? Well, it's because of their thinking. Even in a bad situation, you can avoid the stress and the retaliatory thinking, the poor me thinking, and why did he do that to me? And somehow in our mental fabric, we brought it. And these thoughts does not need to be conscious thoughts. We got to remember that. Once we have created the thought in the conscious mind, we hand it over to the subconscious mind. It is sitting there festering. And while it is sitting there festering, it's rerunning the program, and it poisons. If it is a negative thought, it poisons the subconscious mind. It holds us back. These subconscious thoughts in our always running subconscious mind programs are more dangerous than what you're thinking with your conscious mind.
Yes.
So we need to spend some time to keep our mind clean. And another thing that I found very, very productive is to decide first and then visualize and create a mental and emotional image of what you want. Place it in the future, because that is the spiritual language. It is not one of words. English, German, Chinese, Norwegian. No, it's not. It is a language of emotion, love, vivid, colorful pictures, and things like that. That is the language of the spiritual world. And when you start thinking those things into existence, place them in the future, and attach it to like a time-coded event, maybe something like a birthday party or a Christmas party, a New Year's party, or a celebration of, let's say you need or want or really want a new house. Let's say your old one's falling apart. You really want a new one. Now start visualizing what that house would look like. Visualize people, your friends, coming to the house and enjoying it with you in a party-like setting. And you take all these visualized, emotional, colorful images, place them in the future, attach it to one of those time-coded events. And then you go back and forth every day, at least once or twice or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times. Every day you go back and forth and visit this imaginative picture in the future. And when you keep your eye on that, every time you go back and forth, you lay down a little string of white light to that event. It's called an attractor string. This is how some billionaires are doing it. And you can read more about how to do this if you go to my website and find that book, Universal Success Principles and How Billionaires Think. You can read more of the techniques on this and why it works so well. I know One billionaire really well, he says, I never start a project unless I design it in my mind first. And I set a date for it in the future, he says, and then I go for it. See, a lot of times we spend more time planning a vacation than we do planning our life. That's ridiculous. That's, of course, providing you're lucky enough to even get a vacation. A lot of people these times, they cannot afford or don't want to take one. They're too busy working. So this is something that there are some techniques. There is a set of principles for success of the mind and success in the physical. There's also a set of principles for failure in the mind and in the physical. Let's stick with the principles that has shown success and are the positive ones. Failure, all failure has to do to succeed is to do nothing. Then failure will happen every time. Success is something that has to be coaxed, it has to be courted, it has to be loved, it has to be planned, has to be worked on, has to be thought about. There's effort involved. And that's why we have the 80-20 rule. And that's the rule that 20% of the people own 80% of the wealth.
Yeah.
If it was taken evenly distributed, 50-50 to everybody, within 5 years it would be right back to 80-20 again, because of the way that these 20% think. History is full of people that won $1 million prizes in the lottery and 5 years later they're flat broke. We should think about this. There are people that it's kind of like a minefield. When you walk into a minefield, you want to follow somebody that has bigger shoes than you have. And there are people that has been in that minefield. And look at the books of the people that is out there. And I'm not the only one. There are others that has phenomenal books with great knowledge in it. Lean on that. And you can associate with those people. You do not have to be in their presence. You associate with them by reading their books, listening to their radio shows, listening to their TV shows, and whatever speeches they have written, read them. You associate with them that way because you learn. I got on the soapbox again. Maybe, Diana, you can help me out here, go from here.
Yeah. Well, I'm a tiny bit stubborn, so I will turn back to my Taoist principle.
Yeah.
As the Taoist says, Qi follows the consciousness. By being still, one begins to hear the voice of the stillness, the inner music that leads us to our divine path, filled with joy and harmony of fulfillment. As our dear Wayne Dyer used to say, don't die with your music inside you, let it guide you. In the Tao Te Ching, the Book of Wei from Lao Tzu, this kind of living is called Wei Wu Wei, doing, not doing, and nothing will be left undone. This is amazing.
Yeah.
The Buddha spoke of the middle way as the path of the enlightenment. Not too much effort, but not too less either. Yin and yang should be in perfect balance. The problem is that we come to experience our thoughts prior to the truth of life. We believe in a mind-created physical world, which we are aware of only through our five senses, and therefore incomplete, without being aware of the vibratory field existing. All things in this universe are vibrating, but in different grades and different frequency. Thinking is simply tool, but we elevated the thinking so much that we are identifying ourselves with our thoughts. In the last years, through the brain research, the science discovered the neuroplasticity as the proof that the physical wiring in the brain changes according to the thoughts going through it. Like a Canadian scientist said, neurons that fire together wire together. That means if you have thoughts of fear, anxiety, negativity, then you will grow the wiring for more of these kinds of thoughts to flourish. And on contrary, if you have thoughts of love, compassion, gratitude, joy, you create the wiring for repeating these experiences. But the question is, how can we do this while we are surrounded by aggressiveness, pain, and suffering? So we cannot change the external events through neuroplasticity. What we can do is what Buddha taught us 2005 years ago. Insight meditation or Vipassana meditation. That means you accept the reality exactly as it is, but you experience it at the root level of sensation without the influence of the thought. So actually you change the perception of reality, or in other words, we don't allow the external reality to shape our inner world. We keep focusing on our state of consciousness instead of focusing on external circumstances. Actually, meditation in Sanskrit means to be free from measurement, to be free from all becomings. You are not trying to become something else. You are okay with all that is. So that the suffering and pain from this realm becomes something within you, rather than you become something within it. Or like our monk Su says, meditation is a journey within you. In the book SIT, or Sit with Monk Su, Spiritual Insights Training with a Modern Taoist Monk, written by Maria Pao, this is a phenomenal book. If you read it, it will stick with you and you will feel its energy the whole time. I will simply give you a quote from Monk Su. Quote, "What is the one thing of the earth that every human being desires? It is a universal desire throughout humanity history. It is so strong of a desire that humans died for it, and it is the greatest cause to fight for. Yet it is the one idea that could unite all of the humanity under the common cause. The best thing about this desire is, the more we lose it, the stronger the desire becomes. So, what is this common desire? It is freedom. Freedom may take many different personal paths, but in the end, we all want to control our destiny, to live our life, to do what we want to do, to love who we want to love, without others interfering. The soul is founded on this principle, and it is the last beacon of hope throughout the world. Before the inward revolution, fear will always try to elude love of its natural and just cause." Unquote. And now, because I thought about freedom and transformation, thinking about Monk Su, it's coming in my mind that amazing example from nature that the human should always follow. It is the miracle of caterpillar metamorphosis into butterfly. This is really amazing, a transformation within ours from a parasite existence to a symbiotic one, from an ugly being to a wonderful one. And what is the caterpillar doing to reach this freedom? It is not searching outside for the wings to fly, for magic colors to become beautiful, for a new body. No. It is simply goes inside in its cocoon and allows the metamorphosis to take place by trusting the inner power of transformation that will make the impossible to become possible. It raise up and fly in freedom as a totally new self-created species, as a wonderful one. How about following this inspiring example by going inside us, drop all the rules, all the question and thinking, and allow to be one with all that is, accept and surrender. Acceptance means to be connected to the extraordinary source. And when the pain comes, which inevitably does, accept it. And this doesn't mean that you are looking for pain. You just let it happen and let go. And all will fall into place. Because when you connect your inner world with your outer world, everything becomes one, the all what is. The degree to which a person has evolved or become enlightened, it is the degree of the person's ability to adapt to each moment, to go with the change. Everything comes and goes, changing constantly. All forms dissolve and transform themselves. Nothing goes lost, everything changes. And the suffering on this earth exists because we become attached to a particular form. So, in my opinion, we must stay open to our heart, to change, to evolution, and stay connecting to all that is. Be who we really are. And start doing, not doing, and continue being. So, Aage, what can you say about this?
Well, that was so eloquently said. How in the world can I follow something like that? Well, you amaze me sometimes. This is something that once we understand this, we can understand the concept of the universe. And the universe is in our mind, or part of it is.
Yes.
So, what do we do to make it happen? Then it helps sometimes to have a little bit of nuts and bolts in our arsenal to do that. Meditation is one of them. And I know there are some religions that say, oh, meditation, that's of Satan, and so on. Forget it. The Bible even talks about meditation. They just use a different word for it. They call it be still. Be still. That means don't sit still and don't move around in your chair. It means go within and quiet the mind. So that is so important in order to make the connection with that universal mind. And there are some other techniques, some meditation that people say that I can't keep my thoughts out. They keep popping in on me all the time. Well, all right, Here we go. I know that's a common disease. And try this little trick. When you sit down, look straight ahead for a dot on the wall and cross your eyes a little bit. So now you have 2 dots on the wall across the room. And then close your eyes and maintain that cross-eyed situation a little bit. Because now the mind is doing something that does not take thought to do. And this dulls the mind and all your thoughts go away. It is so simple and it works. Now when your thoughts go away, you open up the channel from the conscious mind to the subconscious, superconscious, and to the universal mind. You get a 2-way flow of information going. It is so simple. Now, I said simple. I didn't say easy. It's a little bit of effort on your part. So it is simple. And you are not only by yourself. You may have a family, you may have a church group, and so start engaging the mastermind principle. Teach others how to do this. In your family, it's a lot simpler. You can get together around the dinner table and you take about 3 minutes to do this before you eat. You close your eyes and you bless the food. How many of us do that? We are what we eat, right? If we eat that blessed food, where does it go? It goes in us. and the food is better for us. You can do it in church groups. If you teach them these things, it will be much more effective. The mastermind principle is so powerful. The mastermind principle is plain and simple. When two or more minds are united in harmony, they create a third mind, which has the potential mind power of the two or more of you multiplied by each other. So if you are 10 people sitting together, joining minds and discussing a challenge or a subject, now you have the mind power of 100 people trying to help you get this thing figured out. That's powerful. And that's why on a radio show you have, and we're going to start doing that in our groups here, we're going to start using this this universal mind principle and try to do that both for healing and for other reasons. Because when there's a lot of people together, we take advantage of those multiplying effects. So this is a way to keep all the stressful thoughts away and bring the calm mind to the surface. And just remember, we create our own reality. And we do it whether we like to or not, or whether we know it or not. So start directing that reality to where you want it to go. And what we just said, visualize it in the future with emotion. And another thing, prayer is one thing that a lot of people say, that doesn't work. Well, yeah, most of the prayers go unanswered, but why? Why does it? Well, it's because you're not using the right language. You're using English, you may be using French, you may be using another language. Words are basically worthless outside of the physical. It's the thoughts and the mental images that goes with it that has value in a spiritual reality. And we got to remember, when we pray for something, that we don't pray for something to stay in the physical. We send that request for what we want out of the physical into a spiritual or higher vibratory existence. So think about that. We have never been taught how to pray. Now, the only one I know that really taught that was Moses. And one of the things he said was, go in your chamber and see it in your mind with emotion so the tears flow. When he said go in your chamber, he didn't mean to go in a closet and close the door. He meant going within and visualize what you want to have happen. See, this is one of the things in my book about spiritual science. We go very deeply into this and how to do this. And I teach people how to use their mind. There still is a little bit of effort on your part because you got to think about it and you got to practice some of these things. But it is so simple because we've never been taught how to use our mind. So look at that. There is a book out also that talks about healing words and prayer is good medicine. And he did some medical experiments where just by prayer alone, they decreased the size of tumors 39%. The medical evidence for prayer working is overwhelming. So quit laughing at it. Just do it in the language that is received at the other end. See, you do not draw to you what you want. You draw to you what you are. And laying of hands is something that is a totally, well, I think so anyway, a Christian practice. It has phenomenal effects. It is not the hands that is important, it's the mind behind the hands that is important. So I know I'm getting off into more of a healing thing here than how to keep our mind together in strange times, but knowing what's going on out there, that is part of being able to make decisions about how to prepare for it and how to think in regard to it. So for myself now, I haven't really watched the news on TV for, gosh, at least 6 months, maybe close to a year. I get my news on the internet, and I get it from sources that I trust. Because I'm sure you heard the term fake news by now. So most of what we see on 5 o'clock news, it is slanted. I don't care what it is mostly slanted in some way or another. And just think about that. Direct your mind to where you want it to go and where you want to be and what you want to have happen in your life. If you do that, you start going in that direction because you lay down those attractor strings. For some reason, I got on this soapbox again. So, what do you think, Diana? Would you agree to some of that?
Yes, of course, I agree. But also talking about healing, it's a part of this topic.
Yeah.
Because you can heal yourself, you can heal your mind, you can heal your thoughts. It's not just about your body.
Mm-hmm. And let me say a little more about the healing part of it, because back from my early days, when back in my martial art days and mind training days in the early days, I started using some techniques that I was taught, and that is when I go to bed at night, excuse me, I visualize a cocoon of bright white light around me. And it doesn't take me long to do this. I just do this it takes me right now probably about maybe 5 to 10 seconds, and it's there. In the beginning, I know it took me a little longer to visualize white, because white is one of the most difficult colors to see in your mind, because it really isn't a color. So it is hard to do in the beginning, but stay with it. If you do that bright white light, when you go to sleep, it works on you at night. It rebuilds the body at night. And I can truly say I have never been sick. Well, since I was about 7, when my mom took me to the hospital and took my tonsils out. It wasn't my idea. But I have never been sick, except for some well-deserved hangovers and, cold every decade or so. But I'm sure this has something to do with it. And of course, also, there was a martial art master that told me one time that do this one thing and you will never be sick. And what he told me was that the oxygen will kill all bacteria and virus in your body. So hyperventilate. Take 20 deep breaths until you get dizzy and sit there and do that for about 5 minutes. And the oxygen you inhale will go into the blood, and the blood gets everywhere in the body, and it snuggles up to viruses and bacteria, and it kills them off. I've done that whenever, maybe not every day, but most 3 or 4 times a week. That may have something to do with it. And I tell you, it is much easier. Your mind works easier, and you can have an easier way to reach your intended goals, both mentally and physically in your life, if you are healthy. And also in my book, I talk about how to reverse the aging process, because it is, in 2009, 3 doctors were given the Nobel Prize for finding an enzyme that reverses the aging process. In some of our radio shows, we talk about that. Look into this. Do not accept the world as it looks from the outside. You can change it. And you change it by going into the mind and say, hey, wait a minute, I don't accept that. But I'll go with it for now, but I will change what it is. You cannot necessarily, you don't have to just totally deny it, but you accept it for what it is, just like Diana said, and then you change it into something different. To divert the energy that you do not want, convert it, transmute it into an energy that you do want. Oh gosh, the hour went fast. We're coming up towards the end here.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, Diana, this was fun. It's something that even if people find one pearl in here somewhere that they can attach themselves to and start doing or thinking like, then it was worth it.
Yeah, right.
So what would you have for a last parting advice for everyone that is listening out there?
I will just simply put a quote from the book Sit with Monk Su, because it says everything. Quote, live and love with all your heart, as if you really think about it. There is nothing else to do. This is all that you are here for. This is who you are, and this is all there is. I think this is saying everything.
Wow. Yeah. It does that.
It sounds like Monk Su, no?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sure does. And I would say we have said a lot here, so go back to the things that you know how to do and start doing them again, because I know that from myself, I fall into complacency ever so often. And I quit doing what I know works and I know is good. And then ever so often I hear something and that's, oh yeah, that's right, I need to do that. We need to stay with it and be consistent in the success of the mind and success of the physical. So I think we're getting down to the end of the show, and I thank you all for being there and listening. I hope you got something good out of it, and spread the word. When you see the recording of this, send it out to everybody on your email list and your Facebook or Twitter or wherever you are. Get it out there. There may be someone else that has a problem that bogs them down. And if they catch the same pearl that you may have caught in this hour that we talked, you helped somebody. So I thank you very much, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care.
You're clear?
Okay. All right.